Boys, welcome to the video. Today is a big one. We're going to be delving into the science and the psychology of why losing stubborn belly fat is so damn difficult. But more importantly, I want you to leave this video with a little bit of peace of mind that as long as you're doing the right thing and you're on the right path, you will be able to do it. Because I think more than anything, people, it's not necessarily that they're doing the wrong thing, it's that they're worried that they don't have the certainty that they're doing the right thing, and then they deviate from that path, they start new things, they give up, and effectively, like, it's a little bit like that meme where you've seen like the diamond miner and he's like this far away from getting to the diamonds and he gives up. Like, I want to give you that clarity, that peace of mind so that you can just keep going, burn off that stubborn bit of belly fat and get the body that you probably want if you are watching a video like this. First and foremost, I just want to introduce myself quickly, give you a little bit of information about me as to who I am and why you should listen to me. So my name's Doug, I'm 36 years old. I've been an online personal trainer and nutritionist for the last 5 years now. In that time, I've helped well over 100 guys to achieve their results, whatever they may be, whether that's building muscle, losing weight, feeling better in themselves, improving their mental health, and all sorts of other stuff. Before that, I was working in the corporate world for 10 years, but I've been training now for about 16 years. Okay, so what I want to start with is actually telling you a little bit about my story when it comes to losing the stubborn belly fat. So when I first decided I was going to go on like an aggressive cut, shock horror, it was because of a girl. Had my heart broken by a girl and I was like, oh my God, I need to get absolutely shredded. And like, I don't know if you've been in this situation before, but like there is no better motivation than heartache. But I did it the complete wrong way. This is before I was like professionally in this business, didn't really know what I was doing. And I just went ham on everything. I went from training like very half-heartedly 3 times a week in the gym to not really following a program, not really lifting with any intensity, no progressive overload, to training like 10 times a week. And I'm not even exaggerating. I was doing like five or six lifts in the gym. And then I was going to these Barry's boot camps, which you might have heard of. Super high intense like workout classes basically. And I was doing them 4 times a week as well. So I was doing a lot of exercise. I was walking a lot. And I started like tracking my calories for the first time ever. I wasn't even using like MyFitnessPal. I was doing it on a spreadsheet like an absolute psychopath. And I went hard on my deficit. I was like, I probably was doing like 1,200 calorie deficits every single day. And the way I did it was I just cut out carbs and it was horrible. And I would not recommend anybody do that, by the way. I basically went full keto and literally there were like 2 or 3 nights where I actually cried myself to sleep. Like I still remember them vividly. I was so hungry, but the determination to kind of like get the body and like, it wasn't even to win back the girl, but I don't know. I was just in psycho mode basically. Anyway, so I did this for about 4 months and I dropped, no surprise, my weight loss was insane. I dropped 21 kilograms, which again is too much too quickly, but I dropped 21 kilos in 4 months. But it was only in the sort of final 3 weeks of me sort of doing this cut that I finally actually got to see my abs. So there was nothing left on me. Like I've actually got like my passport photo. I'll try and find it. And if I can, I'll put it on the screen here. Like you can see my face was so gaunt. I'd lost all the weight from everywhere else, all the fat from everywhere else, but the belly fat was just staying there. And then suddenly, I'll try and dig out these photos. This was the first one where I was like 3 weeks before, and then literally 3 weeks later, I'll try and even include the timestamp so you can show I'm not exaggerating. 3 weeks later, boom, here we are again. So you can see, hopefully I've been able to find the photos, otherwise you're just looking at nothing. You can see that in 3 weeks time, I was able to literally like go from, it looks like I've like done that looks like it's more like 3 or 6 months, right? That was the final 3 weeks. And the point I want to make here is that I didn't actually have that much more fat to lose. There was some other stuff going on, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. But let's go right back to the beginning. So let's say you've decided you want to burn, lose body fat, you want to get a 6-pack, you want to get rid of belly fat, okay? So the first things first, you need to start with the basics. And I'm sure if you're watching a video like this, you understand the basics, but for anybody who doesn't, let me very quickly cover them. So the first thing we need to recognize is that for fat loss, we need to be creating a calorie deficit, okay? So this is where we are consuming fewer calories than our maintenance calorie number. Now, listen, I am not technically a scientist, but I am a qualified nutritionist who's got my qualification based on evidence-based studies. And I can tell you that any good scientist will never say anything is certain. I mean, look at this. We're talking about the universe, right? And now all this stuff that they said was so certain is now being disproven. But it's the same with our body, right? We know a fair bit about our bodies and we know a fair bit about all our brains and stuff, but we can never say with absolute certainty 100% that we are sure on something. However, when it comes to fat loss, we can say with a 99.99999% certainty that the calorie deficit is the principle that you need to be applying. And I've seen this in myself, I've seen this in my clients, so I can 100% vouch for it and back it up. Now, the methodology that you choose to get there, like the diet, I suppose, that you choose to get there is completely your choice. You can go from like one end of the spectrum and be like vegan to the other end to be carnivore. And then if we look at it like a matrix, one side would be like, I don't know, keto, and the other side would be like paleo or something like that. So you can basically pick, or you could go time restricted eating. You can pick how you do it. It doesn't really matter, but you need to be consuming fewer calories than your maintenance calories over a period of time to be losing body fat. And obviously the amount of time will depend on how much body fat you need to lose, right? What I would say then is you need to think about the deficit that you're going for. So if you're just starting out with this stuff, I would recommend going for a 500 calorie deficit per day. That's gonna make you or get you losing about 1 pound of body fat per week, which is a nice starter. It basically just proves to yourself that you're doing the right thing and that it's working. And then if you want to ramp it up, if you've got the motivation, you can ramp it up. Equally, there might be hard weeks or hard months where you just need to dial it back a little bit. But as long as you're in a deficit, whether it's a 1 calorie deficit or 1,000 calorie deficit, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be losing body fat, okay? But I would always recommend starting with a 500, see how that feels. And then if you want to up the ante, if you think like, yeah, 500, this is all right. I'm losing the body fat. I'm losing about 1 pound a week. Cool, up the game and go for a 750 or something like that. And if you want to go hard, if you've got a particularly like not a stressful life at the moment, go for 1,000. If you can like really dial in on this stuff and really focus on it, and you've not got any big social occasions or holidays or anything like that, go for 1,000, go for a quick cut, go for an aggressive deficit, like test it out. It's a good mindset test if nothing else. And also you're gonna get there in half the time, right? So you've got that benefit as well. Okay, so, and oh, by the way, I should say as well, if you really want a rough and ready, quick way to calculate your maintenance calories, just take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 15. Like I say, that's a real rough and ready. There are far more complex formulas to do this stuff, but in all honesty, within a sort of 100 calorie range, that's gonna give you your maintenance calories, and then just minus 500 from that number. Start tracking your calories on MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck or whatever other app you want, and get stuck into it and explore and play around with it. But that's just the basics of losing body fat, okay? So that's where I wanted to start this, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page with this stuff. But now let's talk a little bit more about the belly fat, because like I said with my story, the chances are, if you're in a calorie deficit and you have been for a while, you'll be losing weight, you'll be losing fat. People will be saying like, oh, I can see it in your arms or in your face or in your, probably not your legs, because like it'd be a bit weird if they were looking at your legs for fat loss. But you know what I mean? People are gonna be seeing it, but you are gonna be hyper fixated on your belly, because let's be honest, we all would love to have like that washboard ab stomach, right? And unfortunately for men and for women actually to an extent, the last place that your body fat is gonna go from tends to be from the midriff section, okay? That sort of belly area. Now, I just wanna quickly say this, I'm sure you've heard it before, but I just wanna reinforce this because it is very true. You cannot spot reduce your fat. So what that means is you cannot do specific exercises to target fat loss in certain areas of your body. So a lot of people, and I understand the logic behind it, a lot of people will believe like, well, if I do loads of ab exercises, I'm gonna lose the fat off of my abs. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Now, what you will be doing is, if you are doing that, is you will be building some core strength and some abdominal muscles. However, I could actually tell you that there are better ways to build core strength and abdominal muscles, and it's basically compound movements. But you won't be losing the body fat necessarily in that place. Now, some people genetically will hold their fat elsewhere. Now, they tend to be very genetically gifted, and what you find with these people is they tend to hold their fat more sort of, I can't really see it, but like on their sort of like love handles on their back here. I am very much normal here. I literally hold all my body fat on my belly. It sucks, but it is what it is. But I just want to break that down for you so that it's very clear for you that you can't, if you're losing body fat and you can see it on the scales and you can see it in your progress photos, don't feel like you've got to mix up your exercise selection or that there's any kind of special exercises you need to be doing to be losing belly fat. Anyone who's telling you that is a complete zealot and a gimp, and ignore them, trust me. Just keep going on what you're doing. If you've got something that's working, just keep going. If you are consistently losing body fat, consistently losing weight, consistently seeing differences in your progress photos, and if you're getting external validation from other people telling you that it's working, just keep doing it. I think that's the overriding message of this video, because it's obviously working for you, but it's very important to say that, yeah, you cannot spot reduce the belly fat, okay? So that's really important to say. The next thing to say, sorry, I've got a very itchy nose. The next thing to say is to talk about the difference between stubborn water weight and stubborn belly fat. Because what happens is, right, our brain's job, their primary job is to keep us alive. That's it, right? And when you start to consciously try to change the parameters of your environment, your body, right, your brain's going to start to fight that. And the further you go off course, i.e. the more change you make, the more body fat you lose, the harder your brain is going to fight that. It's going to be like, whoa, what are you doing? And it's a bit weird. It's a bit contradictory, because even if you are morbidly obese and very unhealthy, your brain will still want to stay the same. It's very weird, but it's very true. And as you go further off of course of homeostasis, which is to the brain just normality, it will try and correct your course, and it will try and do it harder and harder, and it will play games with you, bro. Like, the mind games that your brain plays on you are insane. It will convince you that you are crazy. I've been through it, I can remember it, and like, you have to really, really fight it. But you also want to make that as easy as possible for you by making sure that your environment, your home, is, clean. When I say clean, I mean clean of temptation. So whatever your vices are, just make sure that they're not there, because you're creating a barrier for you going to get them. So for example, if your vice is cereal or crisps or chocolate, and you are like hell-bent on getting your goal and like you really want to get to your goal, again, none of these things are bad. None of these things are like unhealthy foods, because everything in moderation and stuff like this, and we should always be making room in our diet to have foods that we enjoy. But what I would say is try not to have them in your immediate environment, because it means that you have to go to the supermarket to actually get them. And just putting that mental barrier in place is going to make you think about it and be like, no, I want the body, I want the belly fat gone more than I want the crisps, the Cheetos, the Doritos, the chocolate, the cereal, whatever it might be, okay? But so there's definitely that saying that. But there's an important realization you need to know between water weight and belly fat. And that is that when you've gone far off your course and you're really in the depths, in the trenches of a cut, of losing the belly fat, of losing as much body fat as possible, your brain is going to skyrocket your cortisol levels. You're going to feel like in this constant state of stress, anxiety, maybe even a little bit of depression, okay? And what that's doing is your brain is flooding your body full of your stress hormone called cortisol. Now, it's doing this on purpose. It's doing this again because it's trying to help you to stay alive. It doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know if there's a famine, if there's been a bloody super volcano. It just assumes that because you are changing, that your external environment around you has changed, and you are now like, you've gone back into like hunting mode effectively. So it's keeping you going. And it's amazing like how efficient your brain can make your body. It makes your muscles more efficient. It makes all the processes within your body more efficient. Most importantly of all of this, when your cortisol levels are high, it makes it much easier for your body to hold on to this stuff, to the water. And as a result of that, when you get super deep into a cut and you're losing the weight, you can see the weight coming off and you're like, why is it not going from my damn belly? What probably is happening there is, maybe there's like a little bit more belly fat to lose. Maybe there is there. But the vast majority of that is going to just be excess water weight that your brain is doing absolutely all it can to hold on to. And then one day it will click and it will just pee it all out. And then suddenly, overnight, pretty much overnight, you will have abs. And you will realize that you didn't actually have that much more fat to lose. You just had to let your brain realize that this was the new normal. You were sticking to this. Your brain eventually will accept it, pee it all out, and then you'll be absolutely golden, and then you'll be there. And then your job is basically to maintain this if that's what you want to do, right? The other important thing to realize is that when people think they have a lot of fat left to lose, right? Let's say they've got a little bit of a pouch left. They've done really well. They've lost a ton of body fat. Like they're feeling a bit good. Like they got, they can feel their t-shirts tighter on their arms and stuff. And they've had basically a complete body transformation and they're getting all the compliments, but they know the job's not quite done because they haven't quite got that six pack, right? That's like kind of the final boss, right? And they're like, right, okay, I'm doing it, but something's missing, okay? And you think in your head, you've gone, God, I've probably still got like 5 kilos to lose, 5 kilos of fat. You don't. Like, I'm gonna put a photo up here now of what 1 pound of body fat looks like. Have a look at this. Massive, right? See, the thing with fat is it's not very dense. And so it spreads out. And as a result of it, if you look at that in comparison to someone's hand, it makes you realize that you've probably only got 1 or 2 pounds left of body fat to lose. Maybe not even 1 pound. And hopefully by me showing you that and telling you this, it's just giving you that little bit of a mental boost to realize that you're really not that far away from it. Because I think a lot of people, when they see this, they're actually quite shocked. And when you compare it to what muscle looks like, I'll let you Google that yourself, you'll see it's quite a big difference. And this comes back to the age-old argument of like, what's heavier, fat or muscle? Well, they weigh the same. 1 pound of anything is 1 pound of anything, right? 1 pound of fat is the same as 1 pound of muscle. They weigh the same. But what happens is that muscle is far denser and fat is far light. What's the opposite to dense? I don't even know. Whatever the opposite to dense is, okay? And you can see that in this image, right? It's like a floaty. It's not quite a liquid, but it's also not a solid, right? So, yeah, that's a really important mindset to put yourself in. And what you'll find is that your body, like I say, will lose the fat from everywhere else. Especially, I always find for men, it tends to be that we go almost like this. It's almost like emptying a carton. It starts at the top and the fat comes out your face, then it comes out your shoulders, then it comes out your chest and your arms, and then finally it gets to coming out of the belly. So I'm saying all of this and I'm doing this video to hopefully help you realize that if you are losing weight, if you are in that calorie deficit, if you are training hard, if you are prioritizing your sleep, getting your steps in, eating the right stuff, and if you are drinking lots of water, you are doing all the right things. You might even be doing too much of the right things. You might be able to take your foot off the gas a little bit. Just keep going. Just understand that you can't spot reduce that fat, unfortunately, but eventually your brain will give in. You will have nowhere else to lose the body fat and you will lose it. And almost overnight, it will feel like you've got that six pack that you want. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. So yeah, I'll leave you to it, but I hope that was a good one. And yeah, let me know how you get on in the comments. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.